Welcome to the Roy Matlock Jr. Money and Business Hours, where he'll help you fix your finances once and for all. To reach Roy, call 615-843-2999. That is 615-843-2999, or visit RoyMatlockJr.com. Now, here's your host, Roy.
All right, Roy Matlock Jr. here, and we are once again talking money and talking about moving forward in your life as it relates to your finances, and really more about just the key elements to moving in a good direction. One of the things that I've always said is that if you've got a money problem, you've got one of two problems. You've got an income problem or you've got an outgo problem. And so what we're going to do today is I'm going to talk to you a little bit story-wise on how I went out and viewed and built financial independence, and how I've been able to transform that into not only financial independence, but time freedom. And time freedom is what we really are shooting for, is to have time and money and build it. And there's a recipe. I've always believed this, that if you want a chocolate cake, you buy a chocolate cake mix. You don't try to, talk to the white cake mix to get a chocolate cake and try to get the white cake to be a chocolate cake, because it just doesn't work. That's a recipe. So what happens is we put ingredients into, things, and then we get outcomes. And if we put the wrong ingredients in, we get the wrong outcomes. I'm not a cook by any stretch of the imagination. I eat out all the time. But the point being is that, you've got to understand what causes people to move forward and what happens when they're not. And I always look at, where people are. The majority of people that I know that have gone out and made it happen in a big way, the first thing they did was they took action. And I've always believed the biggest enemy to accumulating money and having freedom. And when I say having freedom means that you have enough money that your time and your money are not tied together. What that means is that you have passive income that allows you to have time freedom. So you just get up in the morning and you do whatever you want to do. And the key to that is that you got to get started. And procrastination is the number one thing. Take action. If you have an idea, implement it. If the idea doesn't work out immediately, well, take the negative feedback and look at it and say, maybe I need to change this or whatever it may be. But the most important thing is when you get an idea, what you have to do is you have to act on the idea, and don't wait until the timing's right. Don't wait. It's always going to be, some reason to do it tomorrow or next week or next month. And before you know it, it's next year or 10 years from now. And then you have people saying, I had a chance to buy that property over there on the corner 20 years ago. All right. And they'll talk about it like that. And so what I see for most people is people don't fail because they don't know what to do. They fail because they never clearly decide what they want. And so you start thinking about what's the outcome, and I'm going to start moving toward that. Another thing that I've noticed about people, I'm 65 years old, so I've got a lot of, things in my brain that I've seen and watched, and, people do well and people don't. One of the things that I notice is they don't have a clear vision on what they want to get done. And so what that means is, I know coming up, I guess I was lucky. I grew up, I started playing golf. And I'll never forget, I was in high school and I went out with this girl, and her dad was in the insurance and investment business. And the thing, what motivated me? He got to play golf a lot. And he was actually playing golf and taking customers on the golf course. And I thought, all right, maybe this is something I need to do. All right. And so what happens is you just look around and you say, what would I like? Who would emanate what I would like to do? What my life would like to be like? And so I start looking, and I see some things like that. And so people don't have a clear vision on what they really want to do. All right. And so one of the other things I find in this procrastination mode is that, most of the people I found that are highly successful, they found something they like to do early. And if you're young getting started, then here's what I would do. I would have a goal. By the time I'm 30, I'm doing exactly what I want to be doing. All right, that would be it. I would change. I wouldn't quit, never quit a job or quit what you're doing, just move from one to the next. And I would do that. If you're older and you're sitting here and you're 40 years old and you're like, you know what, I hate my life right now. Well, you know what? You're just behind a little bit. Figure out, okay, what you want. If everything worked out perfectly, what does it look like? All right. What time do I get up in the morning? Where do I work? When do I work? How often do I work? I've been working my schedule. I'm a very productive person. I mean, Wednesday is kind of the end of my week, and most weeks I work Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. That's always been my goal. I've always had a goal to get everything done in the first 2 weeks of the month. I want to make every hour that I go out and do something, I want it to be very, very valuable. So if I'm working, I want it to be valuable. I don't want to be messing around. I want to delegate out, to other people things that I can get done. It's funny. I do, I'm very into the AI and chat, been using it for years because I've always believed technology can give me extra hours. I believe now with technology, I get 20 hours a day extra. So, if I work 3 days a week, but I'm getting an extra 3 20-hour days out of it because of the stuff I can get done using technology. That gives me more time. So what is my time freedom? How much income do I need each month in order to be able to do things the way I want to live? It's 10 grand a month. Okay, well, what's your monthly number? What's my financial independence number? And that's the amount of money you would need to be able to do what you want to do. Where do you want to live? What do you want to do while you're out? Family, golf, travel. What does the perfect week look like? And you manage that. I've always wanted to have my freedom. And my freedom is Thursday through Sunday. Get it all done. Now, sometimes it doesn't work out that way, but a large percentage of the time it works that way because I manage my outcome. And so number one, what we're going to do is we've got to find out what we want. If you're tuning in right now, you need to find out what you want, right? Find something. If you get up every morning dreading, doing what you're doing, you're never going to make any money, all right, because you're not going to be good at it, all right? So are you stressed? Do you want to get out of stress? What's causing the stress? Are you worried about your bill? Is it an income problem, or are you making bad choices with your money? So what we do in my radio show, I've always felt like education. If you get educated, you can learn how to do things. And once you're educated, you make good decisions. And so if you're tuning in today, it's called the Money and Business Hour. And the Money and Business Hour is, hey, find a great business, handle your money well. You can visit my website, roymatlockjr.com. We've got the podcast. We've got downloads. Matter of fact, we got a chart there and resources called Your Financial Independence Number. Stay with us. We'll be right back. roymatlockjr.com.
Welcome to the Roy Matlock Jr. Money and Business Hours, where he'll help you fix your finances once and for all. To reach Roy, call 615-843-2999. That is 615-843-2999, or visit RoyMatlockJr.com. Now, here's your host, Roy.
All right, Roy Matlock Jr. here, and if you're just tuning in, you can always find this show and all of the shows that we've done. Been doing this for a long, long time at RoyMatlockJr.com. It's a podcast, or you can go to any of the Apple or Spotify, whatever it may be, and the only thing I talk about is how to handle your money and how to make money. And coming to the point of making money, how do you make money? Well, the first thing you got to do is you got to choose your path. You got to get moving. You got to start. Procrastination is the number one problem that I see with people. They have great intentions and poor follow through. So if you're one of those, what you ought to do is say, if I think it, I'm going to act on it. That's the idea. Hey, if it's a good idea, let's act. Let's go do it right now. Let's make it happen. And I can give you stories. I remember I got involved with, I've been in money forever, 40 years. And during COVID, I was like, wow, COVID is changing everything. And so a couple of things happened. The first thing I did is I really went about becoming a Zoom, fanatic. And matter of fact, we sent out emails. I'd already had good tech. And we sent out emails to our client base and said, look, here's how you learn how to use Zoom. This is the way it could be. I don't know how long it's going to last, but we want to keep you going in the right direction with your money. And so before you know it, we did a webinar. And that first webinar that we sent out, and we had a big database, and we had I think it was 1,600 people show up to our Fix Your Finances 2020. And before I was like, wow, this is cool. I can do one presentation. As a matter of fact, I had a number of speakers from all over the country that spoke about money, and it goes to 1,600 people. I'm like, that's cool. It kind of reminded me of the early days when I first got on the radio. Dave Ramsey and I were doing the radio, and they said, your quarter-hour listeners are 30,000 people every quarter hour. I'm like, that's better than doing a one-on-one when I can just present to 30,000 people, and every 15 minutes some new ones show up. And so I started doing that. I thought, hey, I can expand my business that way. And so what I want to do is I want to be more productive. And so the first thing I did is every time I had an idea, I acted on it. So COVID came along. We acted on Zoom. Our client base became nationwide rather than coming to the office locally. Second thing that happened is I wanted an appointment. And this guy called me. He says, I've got $1 million I need to invest. And I'm like, I'm like, where did it come from? He says it came from this employee retention credit. And I said, what is the employee retention credit? And he said, oh, it's a thing for business owners that were hurt by COVID where you can get government money. I said, really? And I said, how did you do that? And he told me, and he said, I referred a few of my buddies that do the same thing I do, and I even got a referral fee. And he started telling me that. And I was like, so you're telling me that you just got $1 million of government money, and if you refer your friends over to do that are also business owners, that they get that, and you got paid? He said, yeah. I said, okay. Within 30 days, I had a company set up where we went out and all told we did about $80 million of credits for businesses. I thought, hey, I'm a great guy. I used to sit at Brick Tops here locally, and one of the people next to me, they had a business, and I got them $200,000. They were pretty happy. What if I could do that? You know what the key to that whole thing is opportunities are out there in front of you all the time. If you don't take action, it never happens. And so what we want to do is always be looking for luck. Look for opportunities and don't procrastinate. Create the life you want. The way you do that is, what do you want your day to look like? Your time, your money, okay, your lifestyle. I have, people that, have young kids, and they're like, I want to, get all I can get. I coached Little League Baseball, all that kind of stuff. And so you want to do that, and you want to get your stress level down. And so the main thing that I see, number one, that causes people to fail is they don't have a clear picture. Back in the early days, I'll give you another great book. It's an old book, but it really does. It's called Think and Grow Rich. And the whole idea is that what you have to do is you have to brainwash yourself into automatically acting in the right direction, automatically, without having to think, by having clear goals on what you want to accomplish. And then what we do is we stop drifting through life. And what we do is we are not on the defense, we're on the offense. We're going out, we're building the plan. And so what you should do today, I'm going to give you a little call to action, and then just write down your perfect world. What's your time look like, your money look like, your, things that matter to you, all right, lifestyle and the stress level that you're willing to put up with. All right, so then you do that. Number two, what we're going to do is we're going to find work we like and become valuable. Your perfect world is always going to require income. If you don't have a decent amount of income, then your life is not going to be great. I don't care. I mean, if all things being equal, I'm telling you right now, if you got plenty enough money to have an income greater than your expenses and you have a decent lifestyle, you will be much happier than if you're in the hole all the time. And so we want to have income. Now, how does income get created? Sometimes it's funny, people sit down with me and they really don't know how income gets created. They don't understand it. They're like, well, they should pay me more. I said, well, why? Why should they pay you more? And they're like, well, I'm a good person. Okay, there's a lot of good people out there. I show up every day. Okay, I mean, that's a start. All right. But what the reason that you're going to see your income increase is your value increases. If you're out in the marketplace right now, and I've done this forever. I have employees, and I always look, 6 months in, and I ask myself, knowing what I know now, would I rehire that person? Think about that. Knowing what I know now, would I rehire them? All right, because they're bringing value. Would I be concerned? Would they damage my business if they left? All right, then I want to make sure they get treated right. All right, some of them are damaging my business if they stay. So that means they got to go. These are things that it's called value proposition. What's your value proposition? One of the keys to becoming successful in any type of thing you do is you got to love it. You got to love what you do. I have people asking, when are you going to retire? Well, I'm never going to retire. Why would I retire? I got a great life. I have not only time, I make money. I like what I do. I really, truly believe that, that everything I do right now and has been throughout my whole life has been with a payment based on good outcomes for the people that I work with, the clients that I deal with, the advisors that work with me. They get good outcomes, and I get paid for it. And so the more money I make, it's in direct proportion to the number of people that I've given good outcomes for. That's the way I look at it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to find something I like. I'm going to get good at it, really good at it, become an expert. You're not going to be an expert overnight. You're going to like it enough to stick with it. All right. When it's not good, you get really good, okay, at doing what you're doing. You ask yourself, hey, based on my lifestyle goals and my money goals and, all the things that we're talking about, my stress levels, am I in something that one day could turn into something that would allow me to reach all of those goals? All right. So what you're going to find is that your income in your ability to move forward is in direct proportion to how good you are at what you do. And how good you are at what you do has everything to do with if you like what you do. I'll give you some examples. I don't like doing paperwork. If my job was to do paperwork, I would never be any good at it. I can't even type. All right. The only thing that saved me was when I can talk to my phone. I type like 2 words a minute. I would be, no, and I don't really want to learn it. All right. So my mindset is that's not where I'm going to do it. I'm going to have someone that's better at that than me, way better, and they can help support me in the areas that I don't have the skill set. This is what we do. Hey, if you're liking this today, visit RoyMatlockJr.com. We got everything under the sun to help you grow financially. We'll be right back.
Welcome to the Roy Matlock Jr. Money and Business Hours, where he'll help you fix your finances once and for all. To reach Roy, call 615-843-2999. That is 615-843-2999, or visit RoyMatlockJr.com. Now, here's your host, Roy.
All right, we're back, and segment 3, Roy Matlock Jr. here talking money, and today's about your financial independence plan, but it's not just about what we normally talk about. We'll have that, which is about how to handle your money, but this is about, getting started, how to make money. And, my business is, if you're just listening for the first time or if you're wondering what we do 2 things. The first thing I do is, as a company, we help people get their finances in order. That involves everything from creating plans to investment management, insurance, wills and trusts, all the different things that come together when it comes to putting together a plan. It could be a budget, whatever it may be, from the very foundational part all the way up. And if you would like to find out more about that, we're a fiduciary. Reach out to us at RoyMatlockJr.com or call 615-843-2999. The second thing I do, so I've gone out over a lifetime and we have helped about 40,000 plus people that have become clients of ours. And the way we did that was we went out and we meet with them, all right, or we do a Zoom or whatever it may be. We start with a phone call generally, and we help them get their plan of action in place and get their financial independence number. One of the key elements that I've been able to do is, I get people putting money in monthly automatically. One of my number one financial advice pieces is pay yourself first, automate the outcome. So we go in, we find a financial independence number. That's the amount of money you need in order for you to have the lifestyle you want. We tee up a timetable that's realistic, monthly investment that allows you to start moving in that direction, and we automate it. Comes out of your checking account, comes out of your payroll if you're a 401k, and we meet with you and keep you on track doing that. So that's the starting point. We have a defense and an offense. The defense is to keep you from making mistakes, losing, protect your income and assets, those kind of things. And then we have the offense, which is mostly growth, tax planning, all those kind of things. So that's what we do. That's one of the things we do. The other thing that I've done is I've helped people who wanted to get out of their dead-end type job, and they wanted to get into something that they could feel good about and, build something. And so we bring in, as a sideline, we have people called referral partners, and also we have people who come in and get licensed, and we have a whole training system so you could become a financial advisor. And in doing that, we have a lot of people over the years that have come in and made new careers, and the worst outcome that they got was they were learning finance from the inside of a financial advisory firm. So if you're interested in something like that, you should reach out. Reach out to RoyMatlockJr.com. We have a whole system to teach you how to do that. So my business model has been, number one, I found something I liked. Number two, I got really good at it. Number three, I was self-employed, so that means I had control of my time to be able to do what I wanted to do. Number four, I built a business around that and expanded that business with hundreds of people, advisors, and people that work with me, which allow me to have an ongoing business. That was my business model. I don't care what business you're in, what you're doing. Your mindset could be, I'm going to start out, I love fitness. I'm going to get my certifications and become a trainer. From there, I'm going to be great. I'm going to have a following. Once I have a following, because I'm great at it, I'm going to go open a gym. Once I open the gym, I'm going to continue that quality, and I'm going to start pushing it out, duplicating myself with other trainers. Now I've got a business, and now I've done that, and now I'm going to find other people that are inside of that want to have a business, and then they open up a franchise. That's how this all works. And then what happens is every time you move from one step to the next, you get more freedom. You get more money, you get more freedom, and if you do it right, you have something that will last long after you die, all right? So it doesn't require you to wake up every day in order to make things happen. And so that's the way you bring in the offense into your business. A lot of you are playing defense, okay? Don't play defense. You got to have an offense in place. Top earners are top performers. If you want to be really highly paid, which will allow you to have a gap. I always tell people the gap. Here's the get ahead gap. You save 25% of what you earn. IRS is going to get about 25%. You live on half. All right. And so if your income is low, living on half, hey, it's hard. All right. But if your income is high, it's easy to live on half. All right. And then you're able to go out and save money and start building that ongoing passive income. So the top earners are top performers. They provide more value. They're more consistent over time. And most people quit before they get good. All right. I see it all the time in the industry I'm in. I've got people that come in and they make it 6 months and then they're gone. And then I've got people that I know that have come in and made millions of dollars. All right. Doing the same, in the exact same field, exact same industry. So what was the difference? Well, the difference is one of them maybe didn't like it that much. All right. The other one did. The other one, when the tough times came along and they didn't know what they were doing and they had to go in there and operate in a discomfort zone, one quit, the other one continued. And then one day they wake up and they're like, you know what? I've been trying every day to get smarter, better, provide more service, get more value, do all that kind of stuff, do it every day. And now I've been doing it 365 days. I wake up every day, I work on my game. Now I've been doing it 5 years, and I've got this many hours in, and wow, you know what? There's very few things now that I don't know the answer to. And over a period of time, they start seeing their income go up. And so the difference is skill and work, and you put that together. And so don't be stuck, all right, in situations that have no outcome to them that are going to be good for you. You got to look at it and say, hey, if I keep doing what I'm doing today, what's my outcome going to be? All right. I always tell my business owner friends, I'm like, look, if you take the last hour, repeated it every hour of your life, what would your business look like? And in many cases, they say, it wouldn't be good. Well, you got to stop doing that. You got to do things that take you to the next side, all right, which is whatever your goals are based on, lifestyle, income, all those kind of things. All right. So what we want to do is go on the offense. The offense is we build a high income skill set. All right. And then what can we do to then monetize the skill set? I always believe this, that, you get a business going and one day you wake up and you've got a big network. And the way you get the big network is that they look at you as the go-to person. When it comes to money, who are we going to call, And that's what we do. That was my goal. Anything that has to do with money, who you going to call? You're going to call Roy Matlock. That's what the goal was. And the way you do that is you go out and you provide value in what you do. And the way you provide great value is you go out and you get good at it. And then you take that value proposition out into the marketplace and provide it to the masses of people that are looking for the big problem that you're solving. And so when I meet with people, one of the first things I ask people, what is your goal today? If I'm meeting as a client, if you became one of my clients, you'll hear this. If you meet with me or one of my guys, so tell me, why did you take the time today? What's your goal? Another way I could say is what's your problem? That's really what they're saying. People don't call me unless they have some kind of problem. All right. There's something happening, or they got something they don't understand. They inherited money, or they, are sick and tired of being broke and they want to get out of debt and they need a way of doing it. There's all these different things. But when you're building your business, no matter what your business is, your job is to solve problems. All right. That's it. And so we start out, we find something that we like. We then become self-employed. That's the next thing. Ultimately, you can make great income being your own boss. That is a self-employed person. During that time, you're going to set aside money that's going to automate your financial independence. You may decide to go one step further, become a business owner, and then one day you have an exit plan there. My name is Roy Matlock Jr. Today's been a little different, but if you like this, visit roymatlockjr.com. We would like to help you. Be right back.
Welcome to the Roy Matlock Jr. Money and Business Hours, where he'll help you fix your finances once and for all. To reach Roy, call 615-843-2999. That is 615-843-2999, or visit roymatlockjr.com. Now, here's your host, Roy.
All right, Roy Matlock Jr., and we're finishing up, and today's show has been really kind of my, 5 or 6 step plan on how I went about building financial independence and getting time freedom. And I'll kind of walk you through this. The number one mistake, if you're just tuning in right now, is procrastination. That's, you just don't get around to doing anything. And so I would encourage you to, if you think it and you think you have an idea, act on it and don't hesitate. A lot of times just by taking action, you're going to get some feedback early on. You say, well, maybe you need to do it differently or whatever it may be. But opportunities show up right in front of you, and you just have to be aware. Be aware of your surroundings. I always tell my guys that, are in my company, I'm like, I listened to John Morgan, the Morgan guy, and he talked about when he first got started, he would go beat on doors and talk to attorneys every morning, and he would tell them, hey, if you have any personal injury work, send it to me. Here's a guy that's a billionaire, all right, and how did he get started? He got up every morning, went and beat the street, all right. He took action. He had a goal, and one of the things he said I thought was really good. He says, if you want to be lucky, you got to look for it. You got to get up and go look for it. So if you want to find opportunities, you got to go look for it. If you want to get your finances straight, I want to compliment you on listening to my show because you're taking action to learn. And then what you have to do once you have that, you got to implement. You got to be an implementer. The most important thing that I do for people when it comes to their money is I implement. I had appointments yesterday. I still do appointments, and had appointments with a new client, and then also I had an appointment with an existing client. And when I get done, I make a little list. I say, okay, here's what we're going to do. This is what we're going to do. And then we follow up. Here's what we're going to do. And then we will implement this. And so you're going to then go from idea, goal, to a system to automate. I totally believe that if you want to get ahead financially, the most important thing when it comes to saving money is to automate the outcome. How do you automate it? You have money coming out of your draft. I remember when I first got started, I was my first client. All right, when it came to getting started, I had a $50 a month mutual fund. And from there, I built it, started saving money, had that mutual fund draft going on, and money kept coming out. I've been doing that for 40 years, where money goes in automatically. And so one of the things that I saw happen is when people did that, they forgot about it. It's kind of like your Netflix, subscription. We see software out there that is designed to help you get rid of all these drafts that hit your bank account. All right. And so, I've always looked at it like, hey, let's get the drafts hitting the bank account, except we're going to pay us. We're going to take it out of my checking account and put it in my investment account. And believe it or not, to this day, you can still open one of those for $50 a month and get started. You should always be having something automatically deducted, a Roth IRA, whatever it may be. And then as time goes on, I have a lot of people, I meet with them, I say, hey, how's it going? And you know what they do? They say, man, it's going great. And let's bump it. Okay. And what do they mean by bump it? Well, we're going to take it from $200 a month to $300 a month, or $1,000 a month to $2,000 a month, whatever it may be. And we draft it and they start going. And so one of the things that you want to do is you want to start taking action. So number one is procrastination. Number two, you need to look at what your goals are and gear your lifestyle and everything, what you want, get it clear. I want to have 10 grand a month, do nothing money. Do nothing money means that every month my investment account throws off $10,000 a month and I get a check in my bank account for me to live on, and it's called do nothing money. I have people like that. I just set one up yesterday, and we set up 80 grand a year. They're retiring, and between Social Security and the amount of money that they got, 150 grand a year, 140 is what we did. Do nothing money. That means once a month they're going to get from their investment an amount of money based on typically about 3 to 4%. In this case, we did 3.25%. So 3.25% of their current cash savings investments monthly divided by 12. We put 3.25 per year. They're getting that plus Social Security ties back to about 150 grand a year. Do nothing money. It's called do nothing money. So how do you calculate do nothing money? You can go to roymatlockjr.com. We have a financial independence calculator. It will show you with inflation what you need to do. It's in the resource tab. You can then figure out, what's your financial independence number? Well, we start typically, I say, let's take your income and its desired income, annual income, let's multiply it by 20. All right, we got that. All right, now we got that. Then we inflate it. We take your current investments that you have, give an assumed rate of return, and then we come up and it says, okay, your financial independence number is $642 a month. We then continue to work together, and a year later we review. How are we doing? Well, we've accumulated more. We've made more. What do we want our number to be now? Do we want to up it or we want to keep it? All right. I always tell people you have two numbers. You have a financial independence number. That's the minimum get by number that you'll be okay. And then the next one is your number that is kind of your splurging number. We'll call it your wealthy number, where you are doing even more. And that's because you got a plan in place. And so everything ties back when we start putting our goals together. We tie it back to the perfect world. What does my time freedom look like, my flexibility, my income, and how am I going to do it the best way? Best way to do that, find something you like, get good at it, become self-employed, maybe even take it and expand it out to having a business. I have people all the time, they ask me, what's the difference in being self-employed and having a business? Well, both of them, you file taxes similar like that. An independent contractor, self-employed person is generally you're the boss of you. You get up every day, you go to work on stuff. Maybe you have a business that you do services and it's just you. No one tells you what to do. You work. If you work, you get paid. If you don't work, you don't get paid. You're your own boss. And the thing that I've learned about being an independent contractor, typically, you'll make 5 times as much being an independent contractor as you would being an employee doing the same thing. And you say, oh, how do you figure that? Well, here's what happens. If you're an independent contractor, you're not paying someone, and I say paying someone, you're doing work as an employee. You're having someone that's taking a risk and paying your expenses and providing you benefits and doing all these kind of things. And they don't even know if you're any good at it. They have to take the risk on that. So they got to build that in. Bad employees, they cost businesses money. I've had them all, throughout my career. And so what happens is if you do the same thing on your own, you're taking the risk, but you're also having to get up and go to work. You're your own manager. And a self-employed person generally make 3 or 4 or 5 times as much, at least 3 times as much, doing the same work that they would do if they go to work for someone. All right. But you got to provide your own benefits. You got to, make it happen. You got to be your self-employed individual and get up and go in and do it. All right. So what I tell people is this: get good at it and get consistent at it. Maybe you'll go stop being an employee and you do it on your own. Then once you do that, you may decide to get really good at it and build a system, and you have other people working. We have advisors in my business. I have an advisory firm now. I have other advisors that work for me. Realtors start out and they become salespeople, and then they become brokers. Business owners, they're painting, and then they become a painting contractor, and then they've got crews out there doing all that kind of stuff. So it goes on. But the whole idea is to tie it back to the perfect world. You don't want to be stuck. Okay, is the key. You want to tie it back to your perfect world. Am I moving in an offensive way or not? So then what we do, we start creating different income streams. We get good at it. We're the $200,000 a year person doing the same job that other people make 50 doing. And now that allows us to save money. We take that money. I always tell people that, in the case with me, what I do is I know the rate of return I get if I'm involved in it. All right. For instance, if I'm on the radio, I know the rate of return that I get for putting my time into it. What I want to do is also have a rate of return for not doing anything. And my experience has been we put it in professionally managed funds. And what they do is I have professional money managers managing my money, and they have the time and expertise. What I do as a financial advisor is just pick and choose the right places for someone depending on their age and their timeline. And then from there, we put them into professionally managed funds, and we make sure that we get young people in one place and older people in another place, and we build it like that. And so what I like to do is protect all of my income streams. I pay attention to my investments, and I pay attention to my business. And that's what you do. And the good news about paying attention to the investments is we have professionals handling that. That's what I do as a financial advisor. I pay attention. People ask me, hey, how do you keep up with all this? Well, I got a system, and we have a system to make sure that, we're on the same page with our clients. And that's why we do reviews and things like that. And so then we go and we say our defensive position is we do things to avoid mistakes, and we do things to protect our income and our assets. That would be light on the investment and investment advisory side. Defense is insurance. We protect our income. We protect our assets with home and auto and things like that, and umbrella policies and long-term care and health insurance. We protect our income with life insurance and disability income and things of that nature. And then we have budgets to protect against mistakes, and we pay attention to our good debt versus our bad debt. We do all these kind of things. That's the defense. The offense is we look at growing our income, and we grow our amount of money that we put in investments. We have growth type investments when we're young, and we create income streams, and we multiply ourselves through, leverage of good debt. We buy things and we finance things that go up in value that we can afford. We do all those kind of things. This is how we build the perfect world. Hope today's been a little different. My name is Roy Matlock Jr. If you want help on any of the areas that we talked about, I would encourage you, visit roymatlockjr.com. Check out podcasts, Roy Matlock Jr. Money and Business Hour. Thanks for listening. We'll be back next week.